Something I was reminded of recently from a discussion that I had with a colleague who I actually referenced in an earlier podcast. We were originally discussing how he was navigating social media and YouTube and Instagram and sharing that with his kids and trying to help like guide them and give them guardrails from the bad sides of the internet, but leaving open the wonderful ability for their curiosity to explore all the good and the learning that is out there. And he was also kind of talking about this concept of, feeding his brain and helping them feed their brains the right things, right? Like nourishing diets, both for their mind and their intellect. And a long time ago, I saw this topic on somebody's Instagram, actually a friend of mine, colleague who I'd worked with on seminar staff. And then he would move on from seminar staff and we stayed in touch, and he would do a handful of other endeavors, really diving into, I don't know, not just like how, mindset. I think that's probably a little bit too rote and dumbs down what his approach has been. But he is a subtle mind for sure, Bill Anthes. I'm glad we were able to keep in touch. And he went on to do a project called Between the Ears. And then I believe they just rebranded as Holotropic Fitness. I haven't looked into it a ton, but if you see any of his stuff on the Instagrams, I would highly recommend checking it out. I think he just has such a amazing, interesting approach. But on his Instagram was this concept of, what junk food do you feed your mind? And to me, this is so amazing because I've been in the fitness industry a really long time, and I've heard a ton of different analogies and, about how mindset is also important. In CrossFit, one of the things they talk about is, an important adaptation, or the greatest adaptation of CrossFit happens between the ears, not just physically. But I don't always think we think about, we talk about mindset, but to frame it in the way of like junk food. What kind of junk food do you feed your brain? What is the soda for your mind? I go on these kicks where I listen to everything on the spectrum in terms of politics and talk radio. I mean, Democratic talking heads, conservative talking heads, more conservative talking heads, more liberal Democratic talking heads, just all over the place. And I listen to everybody at once. If I go listen to one person on one side, I'll flip and then go listen to somebody all the way on the other end. And it's really fun. It's enough to drive you mad. And I know that because when I take breaks from it, I generally feel less anxious and happier. And I sure as shit feel less addicted to it when I step away from it. Because when I'm on it, I get in the car in the morning, driving to the gym, 4:30 a.m., and I'm like, I can't wait to turn on the news. Who the hell thinks like that? And as soon as I listen to like one ideological point of view, I'm like, I can't wait to go listen to the other side. And it's for no other reason. I'd probably lie to myself saying that it's for like this enrichment so I can get a holistic, it's a bullshit word sometimes, not always, point of view on things. And it's really just because I'm like trying to devour as much opinionated nonsense as possible. But I know it drives you crazy because when I step away from it, I feel 1,000% better. And so I think one of the things that's like a palate cleanser for me is like I really like to just delve into the world of I like science books, research books. I think are really interesting. But then I just really, really enjoy stuff that's, fantasy, sci-fi kind of stuff. Obviously, there's some political commentary and all of that, but I think it's also easy to step away from it. But it was just a really fascinating topic of what the heck do you feed your brain and why do you do it? I got off like, I don't know, talking head opinion podcasts, and they're easy to listen to, I think. And it's you find yourself getting really hooked on them. And I would just listen to these podcasts from people I wasn't even that interested in. And I'm like, I just can't wait to hear what is their opinion about this political event. And in my head, I'm like, I don't even know this person. And I don't even really know how much they think they actually know about what's going on in the world. But I was just so entrenched in wanting to know about their opinion, which was weird. And so now so what I wanted to do is move from podcasts to listen to books, like Audible and that kind of stuff. which I think helps because you can, dive into meaningful topics that are a little bit more nourishing for your brain and not just devour the superficial stuff. It's kind of a funny thing, but and I have not thought about that in a long time until today, but it's an important one. What the hell are you feeding your mind? And, is it just, are you basically just eating a Snickers bar every day for your brain? Or are you eating something that at least has a little bit more substance to it? When you step back and look at it, I think you total up really quickly. It's kind of like, it made me look at like Instagram, doom scrolling, scrolling through Instagram as dessert. Just a little bit of sweetness here. Stupid memes, some laughs, some polarizing views and takes on Instagram. Because how the hell can you be thoughtful in whatever seconds the limit is nowadays? I don't know. What is the Coca-Cola, the fully leaded Coke for your brain? Gotta stay off of that stuff. For me, it's just all the political podcasts and news shows all over the map. I consume it just to get the buzz off of it, and I find myself much happier when I stay away from that stuff. So I thought it was an interesting topic. Wanted to share that. The other thing I wanted to talk about, I think we all do this. Maybe that's just my way of feeling a little better about it. But man, I don't like making plans and then canceling plans. You feel like a real turd bag. But I will say this, one thing that's helped me with that, as I've gotten older and done more of it, sometimes you just don't prioritize things well. It's just learning how to say no effectively. I think one of the things I try really hard to do is if I turn something down or say no, is not explain it. I see that so often. Oh, I know I can't make it because I have to go do this thing. And when you're writing that stuff out, I think it's a good exercise to say, I want to do this thing. And it can come across as a little terse and a little maybe even mean. But I think I think adding in that I want puts the agency back to you. And I honestly think it makes you take yourself and other people's time more seriously. Because to write back to somebody, hey, I know I said I would do this, but I want to stay here and finish this other thing. It's probably not as easy a thing for you to say as, hey, I know I said I was going to go do this, but I really have to do this other thing, as if there is some other imposing force that's making you say no. So I think that was kind of an important thing, like learning how to say no and taking ownership for it. I think you'll become far more, you become not restrictive. You be a little bit more discerning with when you say yes. And like I said, I think ultimately by doing that, you're more respectful of not only your own time, but other people's times. So careful with explaining the no's. The other thing is just be polite about it. No thank you goes a long way. One phrase, when I find myself getting really negative, one phrase I try to use is just not my style. I know it's not like really fancy or anything about it, but it's just not my style. I think it's a really nice phrase because ultimately it's like you can get all worked up and yucked up about something, but how much do you really care? And how much does it really affect you? But just to say, oh, no, thank you. It's just not really my style, I think can go a long way. So those are some things I was thinking about just in the art of saying no. Don't explain it. Be polite about it. And you'll be more respectful of the yeses. And you'll understand what the power of the no is. So a couple thoughts I had today. Did a little workout to later in the day today. And then ended up covering one point where I did say yes. Ended up covering the 4:30, 5:30 p.m. classes today at Mafia. One of the coaches had something going on, so I got to jump in there, and I haven't coached that class in a while. It was fantastic to catch up with that group, and I love both dearly, but the evening classes are always so different from the morning classes. They got a different approach and vibe to the day, and I really enjoy it. I feel like you can be a little looser in those evening classes. We had a good time. So that was one time where I said yes. And the workout today, I did the CrossFit benchmark Annie, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 reps for time, double unders and sit-ups. Still don't like sit-ups after all these years. It's a cool workout. I also like all the variations that I've seen come out on that workout. GHD sit-ups, regular sit-ups, but double the double unders. And then immediately after I did that, not immediately, but I rested 3 minutes and I did 10 rounds of 3 bar muscle-ups, 10 push-ups. And just tried to blast my arms off my body. The dogs were pretty motivational for that one. Gave me nice breaks here and there. It was a really solid day. More tomorrow.